Hello and welcome to day 10. As you can see, I've shaved and sort of cut half of my face off, which is always a bad thing. So this week we're talking about my job, and today I thought I'd bring you a day in the life of Rob, job related. A day in my life is pretty much standard during the week. I worked 8 till 4 and then I go and do radio. So the first thing I need to talk about is what I actually do. So I told you I'm an archaeologist, but quite specifically, I'm a professional archaeologist. I'm a commercial archaeologist. Now, archaeology has two different types of archaeology. So you can have research archaeology or commercial archaeology. Research archaeology is done for universities. Universities pay money and you basically go and dig on a site. You're trying to answer a specific question, that's the main aim. Commercial archaeology, which is what I do, is instead based with construction work. So if somebody's building a house, building any kind of structure, they call in archaeologists beforehand in order to make sure they don't smash anything important. And that's the law in the UK. So my job is literally to go where the construction site is and make sure they don't destroy everything before we can preserve it. So it's quite an interesting job. It's sort of like rescue archaeology. We're trying to find out as much as possible in the least time possible before it's all destroyed. And so it's quite intense in a way. Research archaeology is quite slow and it's the kind of stuff you'll watch on TV. So there's a bit of hard digging, but mostly it's gently troweling away and maybe even brushing away if you're that desperate. But commercial archaeology has none of that and it's much more hands-on. So during my typical day, I will be matticking and shoveling all day. Matticking is like a pickaxe kind of tool. So you basically mattock and then you shovel it all away. And you do that for about 8 hours a day. So it's quite intense. And you do some troweling occasionally, but generally it's proper full-on moving soil. And you can move about a ton and a half of soil every day, which is, quite physically demanding. It's quite an intense job. That's the way I would put it. But having said that, it's still it's full of satisfaction. So I'm able to find objects which have been buried for thousands of years, which is really impressive. And I'm also contributing to preserving history and working out what that history was, which is something really incredible. So a typical day in my life is of having woken up about 6:30, more close to 7, I go into work, we get to site at 8, and we have a day of digging. So you get a new feature, for example. So, for example, a ditch, an old ditch, which has been stripped, you take the surface off, and you go there and you start digging through it. So you try and find the edges of this, so where the original shape was. And it's a thing of, you pick it up after that. So you dig this and you find your edge, and then once you find your edge, you record it. Usually do like a meter slot across it, so you don't dig the entirety of it, just part of it. You record it and make sure you preserve it and give a rough interpretation of what's going on, and then you move on to the next feature, and you keep on doing that throughout the time. Stuff that we look out for is we do section drawing, which is very important. So when you do a feature, I said you do a section across it, which basically gives you a very straight vertical line going downwards within the ditch itself. So you can actually draw what it looked like in profile, and at the same time look at a different context. So you've got like different layers going up with different things in them, and therefore you draw the different layers and you associate the finds that you find from each layer with those layers. For all of this, you can then start calculating what happened on the site. So if you've got like two ditches running across each other, by looking at the section and looking at the fills, you can work out which one was cutting which one, which gives an idea of how a site developed through time. And yeah, so then we record it, put our best interpretation, and at the end of a dig, the supervisor puts it all together and tries to work out the overall plan of what's going on. So that's generally how commercial archaeology works. I mean, there's a lot more details to go into, but as a rough overview, that's what we do. We just go to construction sites before they start building and dig individual features, trying to understand what is going on for the history of the site, which is interesting, I think. I think tomorrow I'll talk about like my favourite finds up to now. So what actual practical things I found. But until then, have a good evening. So I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.